what are these two types of candidates? These are still okay. What's my graduation percentage? A lot of people get CGPAs and they do not know. Please make sure that your date of birth matches wherever it is available. It may not be available in all the documents. Done with your graduation, just try and see if you happen to have your degree certificate available. Hello and welcome to this very important session where we are going to talk about the master checklist of all the documents, all the information that you will need when you sit down to apply for all these various exams. So, this session will ensure that you don't really have to worry about the information in the documents anymore, and this will also ensure that there is no last minute rush. My name is Vikrant. I have been preparing students for the B School entrance exams for more than 25 years now, and I know those places, those points where people get stuck year after year after year, and I want to ensure that you do not really get stuck. So over these years, I've actually gone on to see two types of candidates. Okay, so what are these two types of candidates and which one are you? So there is a candidate who started his preparation months in advance, and then he has also stayed on top of this form filling game where he knows what all colleges he wants to apply to, and therefore which all exams he needs to write, what all information is needed. And then there are people who are also preparing for the exams for months, but then they may not have started thinking about filling up the forms. As a result, I see two types of individuals. One who is prepared, all his documents are ready and they are very accessible, organized. He knows where they are kept, and when he sits down to fill up the form, he is able to apply it in minutes without any tension. Whereas there are these other people who would typically panic. One mistake that they make is that they cut it too close to the application deadline, and then when they start locating the documents, they may realize things that are amiss. So these are still okay. What's my graduation percentage? A lot of people get CGPAs and they do not know the conversion formula given by their university, and then that's last moment panic. Then you pick up your Aadhaar card thinking that I'll use this for my address, and then you suddenly realize that it has your wrong address. Maybe it has a typo in your name. Maybe some certificate or the other that you have is probably outdated. So those people would typically have a hard time applying to colleges, filling up those forms. This session will ensure that you become type 1 instead of type 2. So let's dive into it. So step 1 is where you need to prove to the college that you are indeed who you say you are, and that is done with the help of identity documents. So most of the colleges would typically accept any one of these 4 documents as a proof of your identity. So we know that Aadhaar card is obviously ubiquitous, passport, PAN card, and for that matter, even the driving license. Can there be more documents that do the trick? Absolutely, yes. But then one of these 4 is typically something that most of us are likely to have. You can also add a voter ID to this list if you happen to be a grown up who has actually gone ahead and gotten a voter ID card. Now, do you need to have all the 4, all the 5 documents that we are talking about? Not at all. But I do want you to ensure that you have at least 2 of these documents available with you. And if possible, actually take out all 4, 5 of them. I can tell you, I was going through all the documents that were there available in my household, and I realized that on my on my father's Aadhaar card, the name of his father was spelt incorrectly. On my mother's cards, the spelling of her name was wrong. So if you need those documents at a short notice, you realize how big a soup it can land you in. So I want you to take out preferably all of these, but otherwise at least 2 of these, and make sure that you run them through this checklist. Number 1, is your name spelt correctly, and is it consistent across all the documents? Are there any typos? Are there any spelling errors? If yes, this is the time when you get them rectified. Then please make sure that your date of birth matches wherever it is available. It may not be available in all the documents, but wherever date of birth is given, make sure that it is consistent all across. And then any of these that happens to have a photograph, just see that you can be recognized with the help of that photograph. So when I say current is not that important, but recognizable is important. If somebody looks at that document and then looks at you, that person should get this sense of, okay, I'm looking at the same person. So that's going to be the very first thing that you'd require. In fact, you need to carry at least one identity proof when you go to write the exam. I generally carry two. Okay. Then once we have established the identity, fantastic. Now comes the next step. All of these college exams and college forms will typically ask for your educational credentials, right? So please make sure that you have your class 10th mark sheet and certificate, class 12th mark sheet and certificate. Then if you are going through your graduation, make sure that you have the mark sheet of every single semester or the year for which the results are out and the mark sheet has been issued by the authorities. And in case you are done with your graduation, just try and see if you happen to have your degree certificate available. In case you don't have these things, I would urge you to at least make sure that you especially get all of these things in order. Now, these certificates are not exactly required at this stage, but when you are shortlisted for VAT, PI, the next rounds, you need to carry all of these. And in fact, all of these need to be submitted to the college at the time of admissions for sure. And thus, it's a good idea to start well in advance in case you have gone through some professional course, CA, CFA, etc. All the transcripts for those are also supposed to be kept handy. And once you look at all of these things, just create a tracker or an Excel sheet that captures some of those key points. What are those key points? The year in which you started and passed, the year in which you started, the year in which you passed, the institution that you did that particular. So let's say 10th, which school, 12th, which school, which board, college, which university. And then you want to look at your marks obtained and total marks. So very frequently we look at only the percentages, right? But then you'd be stumped when quite a few forms ask you, okay, how many marks did you get and what were the total marks allotted? For instance, 10th, chances are that you sat for 6 exams, where every exam was of 100 marks. So total marks 600, right? And you got 536, let's say. So marks obtained 536, total marks 600, and particularly for the CAT, all the subjects that appear on your mark sheet, you need to mention the total of them. You cannot really pick up top 4, best 5. We can't really do that. Then percentage. In case your mark sheet happens to have a CGPA, make sure that you know the conversion formula prescribed by your university so that you don't have that last minute glitch. And of course, the passing year, the year in which you went ahead and were through with that particular degree or that particular year of your schooling. So gather these documents and at the same time make sure that you write down this information in a single document. Okay, so that's step 2. Step 3, all of these exams would typically ask you to upload a photograph and a scanned copy of a signature, right? So please go out and get a photograph clicked from a studio and tell him in advance that you are not going to ask for a hard copy. You can ask for that too, who cares actually, because you do need hard copies of these exact same photographs to put on your admit card later, the exact same photograph. So make sure that you get it clicked, get enough passport size copies, and don't forget to remind him that you would also require a high resolution soft copy of that image, right? Now, you are getting a high resolution copy, but in reality, when you start uploading it to the forms, you typically have these size limits. So you end up downsizing it. But you'd be able to get a proper downsized version only when you have a high resolution image available. So get that high resolution image available. Get a downsized version, which usually are under 1 MB. Some colleges may even allow 2 MB. So just look at the form, downsize it accordingly, and then keep them with you ready. And then you need to carry a signature. Most of them will ask you for a black pen or a blue pen, where your sign is on a plain white paper using a black or blue ink. Now, I do not want you to photograph it. I want you to put in that effort where you go out, in case you don't have a scanner, go out and get a clean scan done. And just like the photograph, you're getting a good resolution, a high resolution image, but make sure that you also have a downsized version which is consistent with the requirements of the form. And when you start filling up the form, you'd know. So keep them in the same folder and start using them as and when required. So that's about photograph and signature. Then all these forms are going to ask you for your personal information. Okay. So starting with, you'd look at this like, I know this, dude. I can't tell you. When I was in 10th, my father actually does not use a middle name in his daily life. It's only his government documents that contain a middle name, Kumar. I did not even know it. I ended up writing the wrong name and then I had to fix it later. So please make sure that you look at your parents' Aadhaar and voter ID, etc., and see the spelling and the name that is given there. Your date of birth, the category that you belong to, general, PWD, SC, ST, nationality, address, and PIN code, right? And after that, a really important bit, mobile number and email. See, until you get into that college, you will need these two things throughout. So please make sure that you do not use any dummy email ID. uh, Please make sure that you do not use any funny email ID, because it will be there printed and they may look at that during the interview. So get a professional mail ID and a phone number that you are going to have access to until July 2027. Okay. Then emergency contact, some of them may ask for state, district, and preferred test cities. Of course, you can look at the form and then decide on these. Or in case somebody in your family, somebody in your neighborhood, some senior who went on to apply to these, or who went on to fill these forms, you can check with them and then make a tentative list of those cities as well. So once you have jotted all things down, you can simply start using that copy paste everywhere or typing everywhere after referring to that single document, and the process will be very hassle free. Now, the next step is very crucial. If you happen to have uh, a reservation certificate, it can be your caste certificate or an EWS certificate or a PWD certificate, or in the case of Maharashtra CET, a domicile certificate. You need to keep them all very handy. And there are two extra points that I want you to pay special attention to. Number one, make sure that these happen to be recent. At a lot of places, the certificates that you got made last year or a couple of years ago, they may not work. So you are applying in 2026. So please ensure that your certificate was made after April 2026. So you have that time now. Okay, go ahead and get that certificate made today so that you don't really have to wait for that certificate, or worse still, you are filling up the form and you realize that, oh damn, you don't really have a recent one and now you don't even have enough time to get a new one made. So I don't want that to happen to you. And a domicile certificate is specifically for state quota seats, may not be applicable for everybody here, right? So that's another very important point. Then some of you may also have work experience. So you would want to put in the details of your work experience. So basically record the dates on a document somewhere, right? So what details? The name of the company, your job title and employment type, full time, whatever, right? Joining date and relieving date. And then at this juncture, now that you are doing this, why don't you also go ahead and gather all the documents, right? So make sure that you have your offer letter or a joining letter available somewhere, experience certificate in case you've left a previous job and they issued one, or if not an experience certificate, at least a relieving letter, whatever they called it. Make sure that you keep all the salary slips, and in case there is an NOC required, very few colleges who would really need it, so that's not really relevant for most of us at this juncture. But make sure that you happen to have all these documents. If not, at least initiate the proceedings. Now, when you fill up the CAT form, they ask for the exact dates or months, etc., for your work experience. Okay, so they calculate it very precisely because you have these exact dates. You will be able to go through it rather rapidly. And then we have talked about, of course, gathering all these documents, but then it is very important for you to go ahead and store each one of these at the same place. So we're talking about digital organization. Make sure that you have a master folder on your computers that says document. Now, within that, we have talked about all these different aspects, right? So make sure that you have a separate folder, or if not, a folder, because I'm saying photo, signature, etc., because you want to already keep a high quality scan and then different sizes. If they are in separate folders, it makes it very easy for you to locate them. So scan each one of them, maybe click a pic except for the signature and the photograph which you are getting professionally done, and keep those in your folders as well. And whenever you store a file after scanning, particularly when we scan things using phone, you may at times have some very random names. So make sure that you name those files correctly so that in case you need to refer to them, you're able to refer to them easily. So instead of something like this, about putting in class 10 mark sheet, right? So this weekend, that's your homework. You are going to take out 1 hour and check whether you have all these documents available or not. If not, you'll initiate the process of applying for them, and that will ensure that you have no panic. So create a folder, collect every document mentioned digitally as well as in the physical copy, scan, rename, back it up somewhere safe. The only thing that I've not mentioned is the payment part. You will require a debit card or a credit card or net banking in order to make your payments. I mean, you'd not really like to go through the hassle of a demand draft. So in case you do not have a debit card, make sure that you have access to somebody who has a debit card and who's willing to let you use it. So stay organized and stress less. All the best for your form filling journey. If you gather all this information, I assure you that it is going to be a breeze for you. Good luck, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.